The following program is presented for entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are the views of the hosts and the host alone. The information or statements here are not known fact.
Good evening. David Berkowitz, 24 years old, a postal worker, walked out of his Yonkers apartment last night, turned the ignition key in his car, and found himself surrounded by police. Well, he said, "You got me." Police say those words ended the biggest manhunt in New York City history with the capture of Son of Sam.
After more than 13 months of following thousands of leads down endless blind alleys, the detectives of the Brooklyn Omega Squad, part of that 300-cop 44-killer manhunt, captured the man they say is Son of Sam. The ice-cold trail heated up suddenly during the past week. A Brooklyn woman who saw a car parked illegally and occupied by a strange-looking man moments before she heard the shots of the last Son of Sam attack finally contacted police.
The man come towards me, and he looked me straight in the face. He looked at my dog, and right here, we crossed each other. So he had his arm straight down. He had a long thing, like a bell, sticking up his sleeve. And he made a left turn. I heard a boom. I didn't know he was a killer. I didn't know, he looked nice.
Police transported David Berkowitz from headquarters to Brooklyn Central Booking. After, my sources say, he confessed to being the 44 killer. After he told them he was a killing machine, ordered by a voice speaking through a neighbor's dog to carry out his bloody outrages against young, pretty women.
In general, his neighbors describe him as basically nice, quiet, kept to himself, perhaps a little strange, perhaps a little moody. Son of Sam killed 6 and wounded 7. How many people do you know, your neighbors, people who might fit that description? Nice, quiet, a little moody, kept to himself.
I love to hunt, prowling the streets, looking for fair game, tasty meat. The women of Queens are the prettiest of all. I must be the water. This is so fucking stupid. That was the first letter from David Berkowitz, the son of Sam. I, this time, am the believer of the conspiracy with the Sons of Sam, but I'm here with your host, the lovely Miss Gina, because I don't know what the fuck else to call her. So we are going to talk about David Berkowitz. And if you think David Berkowitz looks like a cross between Andrew Dice Clay and John Lovitz, leave a like, because I sure as shit think they do.
Yeah. He was a little bit of a whack job.
Just a little.
Tell
Tell
me.
me about him.
What?
Tell me about him. I did the research on the cult that I believe in. Tell me about this fucking wackadoo that was writing letters to the Popo.
Well, obviously he was kind of a misfit kid. He just kind of floated along. I don't think had a lot of friends. He was known to be kind of violent, killed animals, started small fires, different things like that. He just didn't have a way with women and was very awkward.
Okay, let's be honest. Let's be honest. Now, off the air, let's see if this matches. He said he didn't have a way with women. If David Berkowitz, if he would have came up to you and went, hey, keep in mind, people, this is the 70s. Hey, mama, you want to go to the disco, maybe dance with me, have a drink? What would you have said?
No.
Yeah, because he's a fucking homeless looking loon. Of course he didn't have a way with women. I mean, all you can see in the picture for me is the pudge and a little bit of the hair. I can't fault the hair, but I'd rather have no hair than have an unkempt fucking white afro like him. But I mean, of course he's going to be a loser with the women. Look at him. I would have been all over with the women. I've been like John Travolta in Saturday Night Fever, Staying Alive. Oh, yeah.
He was definitely not a John Travolta. That is for sure.
So you wouldn't have dated him, is what you're saying?
I don't think I would have been attracted to him.
Okay.
I mean, so I'm thinking he was Italian by his last name at birth.
See, I would have thought Jewish.
And maybe, I don't know, Falco was his last name. I don't know.
Okay,
Maybe.
yeah, Falco, Berkowitz. Yeah, it's
So, yeah. So his parents evidently were unwed. And when things didn't work out between them, he must have been very little, must have been, just born. He had been adopted to the Berkowitz family, and they just kind of flip-flopped his name around. So he was like Richard David Falco. But then when he was adopted, they just named him David Berkowitz.
Now, my whole thing with this guy is, well, tell me first before I say anything, tell me about why why is he called the son of Sam, and what was he arrested for? I'll let you tell me that part, and I'll tell the other part.
Why was he called
You have the whitest fucking teeth, too. I got to admit, you have really nice.
You have to tell me why he was called the son of Sam.
Because he was called the son of Sam because he would write these letters, and he thought the dog's name. Now, I don't believe in any of this shit, but he said the dog was Sam. He was the son of Sam. So he'd write these letters and say he was the son of Sam. Because this guy, if you believe this, thought the neighbor's Rottweiler was telling him to kill people. So tell me, what did he kill? What did he do?
Well,
I know you spent 5 days researching this shit.
Yeah, 5 days researching it. So it seems like his kind of MO, what he liked seemed like dark-haired women, shoulder length hair. Although
Like
one
yours.
Say that, yeah.
And
Yeah, I would have probably been on his victims list.
You would have needed a wig, or you would have been an easy target.
Yeah. Yeah. But so it seems like the women that were victims all kind of had very similar features. Even though some of them were killed, not at point blank range, some of them were killed where they were in a car and he was quite a bit, farther away. It didn't seem like he was stalking them for days. It didn't seem like he'd followed them for long periods. It seemed like it was very kind of random. It's kind of like, okay, I'm driving down this road. I want to kill somebody. Oh, that looks like somebody that kind of fits the idea of, somebody I want to off tonight. I
Like
think
a serial killer almost.
Yeah, very much. I read that one of his first victims was like a 15-year-old girl that he had stabbed multiple times, but I don't think she didn't die.
No, he was a shitty, and let me just say this, he was a shitty killer. And I mean, that's good, I guess, but out of I don't remember how many he has dead, but he fucked up and he let so many of them live. It's like, kill them, they live. Kill them, they live. He was, if this is a killer, he stunk.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. No, I think there were like 8 shootings, and I think like 6 of them died. But so there were quite a few that and there might be others that they just didn't tie to him too as well. And like this spree went over like 13 months. So it wasn't a too terrible long amount of time, and I know more of some of the letters and different things that he kind of left on his trail, but he definitely, I felt like, wanted to be caught.
Well, anybody I think that writes letters from a gun wants to be caught. And with him, he wasn't often a person a day, a person a week. Maybe he'd kill somebody, like you said, on like a lover's lane. It'd be months before you see him again, but it was all targeted. And this is the only thing, and I'm not defending a killer, but as a gun enthusiast, he used a 44 Magnum. That is my primary gun. I should have brought it here and showed it to everybody. If I shoot you with the 44 Magnum, you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
This guy wasn't any good, and I'm saving that for later, but yeah, he would kill people, and usually it was a couple people that were like, just like 2 younger kids, screwing in a car or something. And then he started dropping letters, much like the Zodiac did. And I think the Zodiac was later, I can't remember. but he would always say he was doing it because of Father Sam. And yeah, he'd kill some people, or he'd shoot them at least and pray that they died, I guess.
Yeah.
And then he would drop a letter. And but being it was a chain, not like this guy got shot here, this guy got shot, they could link it together. So it's like, oh, we got a serial killer, we're fucked. And the Bronx, they had blackouts and everything, and yeah, they were rightfully so. They were terrified. They didn't know where this. And he went after so girls were coloring their hair, wearing wigs.
Pixie cuts.
Discotheques were
Yep, the pixie
closing.
cuts. People were cutting their hair.
Yeah, like if you wanted to go to like club, like say you want to go to Studio 54, great. There's probably 6 people there. I mean,
Yep.
he ruined attendance at things. I mean, it was a pretty big deal.
Yeah, it was a very big deal. Disco was like at the height of everything going on at that time. And New York, did have a really high murder rate in the 70s. It seems like when I did a little research, it seems like 1972 had one of the record-breaking years of murders in New York. But I want to say like around the 75 to 77, it was somewhere between 1,500, 1,600. So there were quite a few less murders, but the way that these were so random, at just different times, people they couldn't correlate a killer or somebody, they couldn't link anyone to this particular guy. So, but in the 1970s, with all the disco and everything that was going on, everybody was like free-spirited, everybody was out. I mean, streets were filled with people. It was just totally different time. And when this was going on, it really shook the city pretty bad. And it's funny because I always look for songs and different things like that with these serial killers. It's like, what were they listening to at the time that they were doing these things, right? Like what were the top hits? What was going on at this time? And funny thing was, I found out that one of his favorite songs was from Hall & Oates, Rich Girl. And evidently the song like revved him up to pick his targets.
I mean, I know if there's a song that revs me up for anything, it's Hall & Oates, but
Yeah.
no,
No.
Now, did you know that was 2 people? I always thought it was Hall & Oates. I always thought that was his name. I thought it was one guy.
Daryl Hall and John Oates. Yeah, it was
I
2
thought
guys.
I thought it was a guy named Hall & Oates. I thought like Hall & Oates.
Nope. I think they just shortened it their last names. Yeah, Daryl Hall and John Oates.
Well,
Yeah.
and yeah, like all these places were closed. Nobody wanted it because you didn't know when this guy. And like I said, it wasn't like random. It was kind of like, you write letters to the police, like it's a happy birthday to me. What am I gonna do? And I think he was like really fucking dumb because he like killed somebody like a few days later. But there was no rhyme or reason. He hit you in New York. He's gonna hit you. He's gonna hit you in the Bronx.
Yep.
He's gonna hit you in Manhattan.
Queens.
I mean,
Mhm.
he was just there was no rhyme or reason to this guy. It was just all connected by the letters and the fact he was using a 44 caliber.
Well, and there was even a guy that was, I think, in a car with a gal, and the guy was shot because the guy had long hair. So from a distance, he probably thought I was a chick. I saw some interview with this one of the victims. They survived, but they think that he probably mistook him for being a woman because he had long hair in the car and probably couldn't see.
Now, what makes me mad, a few things that make me mad. The one thing that makes me mad is, and I might be jumping ahead, here's how they caught the guy. Some lady saw him because they put a parking ticket on his Volkswagen because that screams fucking sex magnet. So they put a parking ticket on his Volkswagen. She says something, they run the plates. This whole task force, they didn't catch shit. This was caught because of a parking ticket. Like most of these serial killers are caught by just a dumb fuck mistake. They can take all the credit they want. They didn't catch shit. It was a parking ticket. And they bust this dude, who ends up being David Berkowitz, and he says, Well, my neighbor's dog is a Rottweiler named Sam, and he yells at me, and he tells me I gotta kill this. I mean, the guy's a fucking loon who looks like a cross between Andrew Dice Clay and John Lovitz. I mean, he's a fucking nut. Pardon me for cussing, but and apparently the guy had like I don't know what, like photographic memory, like 100% recollection. He remember everything. Yeah, I did this. And he would say the dog was telling him to kill. So he would go out, and if he killed, the dog would shut up. Now, let me ask you this before I go further. First, it's two parts. First, what else do you have to say about David Berkowitz?
About the what?
About David Berkowitz, the son.
What else do I have to say about him?
Yeah. Other
Um,
than that, you wouldn't have dated him.
no, I definitely, no,
What if he
definitely,
slicked his hair back?
no,
What if he had
definitely,
on a leisure suit?
no, no, no.
Man, David Berkowitz is striking out. If you can hear this in prison, wacko, who's up for parole every year, you got her. Yeah, you fucked up.
Well, it's funny because there were some random things that he wrote in his diary that I read that he had started like over 1,500 fires in New York randomly through the 70s. I mean, things that he wrote about in his diary, and I'm thinking, my gosh, what are these other things that he's doing? He might not be writing in his diary, but 1,500 fires? That's a lot of fires. No, I mean, the guy seems like a complete wacko, but I don't know. Okay, so going through some of these documentaries, watching some of these stupid investigation ID things,
And let me interrupt you and say, Investigation ID, if you're listening, because I tried to and she dozed off, you have the worst fucking documentaries ever. This should have been the most fascinating thing ever. It was boring as shit. If you have an editor on staff, you should fire him.
I did not. Oh my gosh. I actually like some of the investigation ID documentaries. They've been intriguing. But I literally was falling asleep trying to watch this. I'm like, I should be intrigued by this, okay? But I am literally falling asleep. But watching this, I did notice that in some of the stuff I was researching that the bystanders, the people who were, the witnesses that were around and saw either somebody fleeing from the scene or whatever, there were a lot of different, what do you want to call it? I'm sorry, I've
Like
lost my train of thought.
accounts or reports.
Yeah, like their reports of what he looked like, their descriptions were very different. So I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, you've got a description of a guy that looks like this over here from this murder, and you got a description of, a guy over here that's bald or whatever, but they seemed like they were very different. So I'm like, okay, did this guy just take credit for all of these when maybe he didn't do all of them? Maybe he's just this whack job that maybe he did this to a couple of people, but he's taking credit for the majority of them, just because whack jobs just do that. They want to take credit for things that aren't even there sometimes.
Now, see, that brings me into, there was a gentleman by the name of Maury Terry. Maury Terry had this, and normally I think this stuff's kind of kooky, but on Netflix, there is a miniseries called The Sons of Sam. And normally when I watch something, I'm like, when I watched this, I was like, fuck yeah. Maury Terry, who unfortunately, he became obsessed with this, but he believed that Berkowitz was part of a cult, the Sons of Sam. I don't know if I'd go that far because you can dispute some of that, but like we were talking off air, look at a picture of Ramirez, Bundy, Gacy. They all look pretty much the same. I mean, like let's say something happened and I did something and somebody's giving a response. They're gonna say this hot, sexy, fucking bald guy with nice teeth, beautiful fucking silver fox beard. I mean, everybody's gonna give you the same kind of description. This one was like, well, the guy there was driving a green Ford Galaxy and he had long blonde hair and he was athletic. Then, the next case, Oh, this fat guy he was pudgy and he had curly afro and he drove a Volkswagen Beetle. Everything was different. Now that was the first thing that I was kind of like, okay, and they were random. Like, how's this guy? Boom, boom, boom. He's getting in the Bronx, and then next time he's getting up in Harlem. Boom, boom. I'm making up names because I don't.
Yeah.
Because I don't know them, but it was very scattered and very random. Now this guy Maury Terry, let me get out the Google. He was a little over the board. Like he said, people when they found Berkowitz's, after they arrested him, they went to his apartment and he had like these writings on the wall, like, oh, clearly this was a bunch of satanic. It was all his handwriting. I don't think this fucking guy had somebody. So you can kind of dispose of some of it, but he had kind of. Now I believe it was a different guy, and I'm saying this because I'm going off of the fact that the descriptions, and do I think it's a cult? I mean, it's possible, but and I sent you the link, and some of the stuff is a little far-fetched, but let me look. You know who he looks like? He looks like Lotka from Taxi, but I just realized that.
Yeah, now that you
He
say
does
that.
look like Lotka, doesn't he?
Yeah.
So, blah, 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 shootings, block away, blah, 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 blah. Maury Terry, he said this is serious. Can't be the same person. But he was grabbing for straws. I mean, he was saying, and I'm trying to find it, Summer of Sam. That's a good movie, by the way. Blah, blah. Man, this guy had some long notes. They said Berkowitz recalled everything. Here we go. Berkowitz had actually said in an interview he was part of a cult, and that I was not the only guy that did this. Some of the cases I was a lookout, but then he did that famous cop out, like he named, it was this guy helped me, and this guy helped me. Well, they're fucking dead. It's like,
Yeah.
can you name me some people that did help you? Oh, I can't do that. The cult will come after my family. So, I mean, and of course, who's gonna take anything this guy says? But he claimed he was in a cult and they would sacrifice animals and do rituals. And he said he met some people. I met some people who were witches and there were animal sacrifices and dark and ugly things happened. I got caught up in the rituals and the group took over my soul. I'm sorry. And the recruitment process was slow and methodical. But they were also into child pornography, and there were other people that were into that thing, where they wanted that, and they would provide that. I don't know what the fuck that means. And then he was like, we were plotting ritualistic murder, human sacrifices to the devil, which is what this born-again Christian was now saying the Son of Sam killings are all about. And we would work with Satan to bring in. I mean, when you really read it, and as I'm reading it out loud, word for word, we said here, it's the words of a rambling loon. And children were being used, and things were going on, and we killed German shepherds, and we had a boardroom. All that I think is a little bit of bullshit. And unfortunately, this Maury Terry guy was so obsessed with it, but he was so weird. He's like, see, he mentioned Wheaties. And this guy's nickname was Weedy. It was like, if you ever watch It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia and you see Charlie Day and he's got this whole board where he's trying to find where the wrong mail went. And he's got like 1,000 pieces. That's what this was. I mean, some of this was for straws, but do I think more than one guy did it? I mean, personally, and I'm just simply going by the descriptions. I mean, it's not. I could see if everybody gave maybe a different description because you're panicked, you're quick. They also give descriptions of cars, and how's this motherfucker going from town to town? I do think there was more than one, and I think the police were like, well, we got this guy. He's probably the main guy. He's a fucking nut. Close the case, heroes. I do think that's what happened. I do think there was more than one person.
Yeah, I do too. Well, and they had to quickly make the city feel more safe so they could get businesses back going. People to feel more comfortable about going out. That's really their point of solving something right away, is to make the public feel safe and so that everybody can move on with their lives.
And the economy, that
Yeah.
there's 155 discotheques and they all got 6 people in them.
Yeah,
We gotta
yeah.
get this pumping again.
Yeah, and people weren't going out, and all because this, weirdo who's like, is awkward with women and feels like he needs to go out and shoot them or whatever. It's funny because I saw one of the little writings that he had done, and I think I read this to you earlier. I thought it was kind of interesting, but it's like, he said that he felt sex, I believe, is the answer, the way to happiness.
Well, yeah.
And he felt he was being like unfairly denied like his key to happiness or something, because he was just having this awkward time with women.
Well, look at him.
I know. I mean, well, here's the thing. New York, from my understanding, was really hard on the dating scene, I think especially for men. But yeah, and the funny thing was, when I was researching songs and stuff, I thought, I wonder what this guy was listening to. And I'm thinking, oh, I wonder if he was listening to, the Bee Gees, Saturday Night Fever and or Staying Alive, because it came from that movie, the soundtrack from the movie, that Staying Alive or Night Fever and whatnot. And I was like, I'm going to go through some of these lyrics so I can, hear what these lyrics are, because you know the chorus, 2 of them, you forget what the words are that are really in it. And the funny thing was, these songs didn't come out until after he was arrested. So like Staying Alive didn't come out until like December of 77, but that the movie and the songs and everything, I don't know, maybe they had his captivating like the city and everything that was going on with that. You don't know if it had some type of influence like on these, the people that write, these musicians that write these songs and whatnot. And I thought it was really interesting, the lyrics. Do you remember this Staying Alive?
I remember the movies.
Yeah.
And I remember the dance was real basic. It was like,
yeah. But it's funny because this song starts out, and okay, I'm not going to sing it for you. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. But it says, but it says, well, you all can tell by the way I use my walk, I'm a woman's man, no time to talk. Come on, say it. Music
walking, going,
are warm. I've been kicked around since I was born, and now it's all right. It's okay. You may look at me the other way.
Look at me the
Try
other
to
way.
understand the New York Times
effect on man.
Yeah. So, but I mean, going on with the lyrics here, it's like, whether you're a mother or whether you're a mother, you're staying alive, you're staying alive. Feel the city,
everybody's chicken and staying alive.
Yeah, feel the city breaking. Everybody.
They may have wrote it because of it. I mean, there's a fucking band, a punk or a grindcore band called Sons of Sam.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, and it's just, it goes on, I'll live to see another day. We can try to understand the New York Times effect on a man. So it's just interesting, did some of that music get some influence from what was going on? I'm sure
100%.
Everybody, when they write a book, is influenced about what's going on in the times, or music that's going around in the times. Like just like the other Bee Gees song, this Night Fever. One line in it says, and the street city woman, she moves through the light, controlling my mind and soul. So it's just like, this guy was clearly obsessed with women and was really upset that he didn't have, he had his joy taken away because he couldn't have sex or something. But I don't know. It's super strange. And then with his favorite song, supposedly, that revved him up, with Hall & Oates, The Rich Girl, which I thought was kind of an odd song to be revved up, unless he thought he was targeting, upper middle class white girls.
I'm going to say it again. I thought it was one guy, Hall and Oates. I thought was his name, but if you're a serial killer and you're watching this, number one, thank you for the view. Number two, if you want to get a girl, okay, you can only see part of him behind me. This dude had a lot of hair. I don't have any hair. Now, being I don't have any hair up here, I shave it. This dude could have slicked his hair back. He could have pompadoured it. He could have done anything. Now, if you're a little fat, you go to the gym, you lose weight, you get a pump, you get a bill. Okay, I'm sitting in my office here wearing a t-shirt. When you go out, you put on the jewelry. You put on $500 shirt. You look good for the lady. If you go out and you look like a fucking postal worker, no offense, postal workers, like
He
this
was a
dude,
postal
he was a
worker.
postal worker, going out looking like a fucking schmuck. You know what you're gonna get? You know what kind of woman you're gonna get looking like a fucking schmuck? You ain't gonna get none. You ain't even gonna get a woman that's like low. And I like big girls. So see, I don't even have to stretch that high. I just like that. But oh, and by the way, if you're watching, hi Gina's mom. But I mean, that's all these serial killers like that. Well, I couldn't get a woman. Well, motherfucker, look at you. Clean up. I have a 15-year-old son. Pop the fucking zit on your nose. Make the effort and you'll get a woman. But these people
Take a
that are like,
shower. Take a shower. That is like 90% of it. Take a
and
shower.
maybe when you're in high school, you're just stupid. Look, I was a stupid looking bastard. Some people like look at who's the Can't Buy Me Love, Patrick Dempsey. He grew into his nose and his face, and he was what, Dr. McSteamy or whatever the fuck one he was. It's gonna happen for you. Don't start killing people. And that's just I mean, this was the era of disco. How hard could it have been to get a woman to go back with you in the era of disco? Go to Plato's Retreat, for Christ's sakes. I'd go there today if it was still open.
You must not have looked very good in like, the leisure suits.
Or he was just one of them guys that was like, just stood there. I mean, I would like to think in that particular era, I would have had sex 9 times a day on a slow day. I mean, you didn't have to do anything, but
No, not in the 70s. It seemed like everybody was, pretty free.
yes,
Pretty free during those disco days. And maybe that's why he was upset. And he was kind of, he would see those, couples that would go out to their car and find kind of a street that was, not heavily, wasn't real well lit. And, because they were going to make out, and he was mad. He's like, I'm going to stop you from doing this. I mean, that's literally what he was doing. He was kind of like the lover's lane, shooter.
You ever
But
get popped in a car with somebody?
what?
Have you ever got popped in a car with a girl, or well, in your case, with a guy?
Did I ever get caught?
You ever have a cop shining a fucking light in your face when you're in
Yes.
the car? I have
Yes.
too, and it's creepy. And I remember the girl I was with, Wackadoo, if you're listening, you know who you are. And she was like, I would have just told the cop she was doing something to me because I wouldn't want to get arrested. And this was me, because I was always very cool and calm. Even my twin was like, you're butt naked. I have on clothes. This would be the stupidest fucking the guy was trying to get over me like that, but yeah, no, I've had lights shine in my face, but this is in the fucking 90s. I've had lights shine in my face. In the 70s, I mean, there's a reason they call it like Lover's Lane or Make Out Mountain. And I mean, that's not just stupid things for movies. People were going to these areas, they were fucking in their cars.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I had a same boyfriend all through high school from 14 to 21. Yeah, we were together. Yeah.
Really?
We got caught by a cop. And he was
No, I'm
kind of,
just in shock that like somebody could date the same person for that long.
well, yeah. No, we got caught by a cop that it was kind of a weirdo too, because here's 2 young kids in the backseat of a car, and he made us get out of the car
Ooh,
without our
now
clothes
that's a
on.
strange cop.
Without our clothes on. Like, I don't even remember what I was wearing, but I know I wasn't wearing everything. And it was really degrading.
Well, yeah, Did this
Yeah, and
particular
we were in a housing addition that hadn't been built yet, you know, like they just poured the cement for the streets and it was way out in Millard somewhere. And so there was nobody around, so he must have came around. He goes, "Well, we've been watching out for vandals. Doesn't look like you're vandalizing anything but yourselves."
I hid the spray paint inside her office.
And I'm like, we're not vandal. I was horrified, horrified. This dirty old man made us get out of the car. I mean, would not. I even asked, "Can I put my clothes on?" He said, "Get out of the car."
Zane asked me to get out. They shine the lights. They're shining this girl's big breasts and like, do you know what time it is? Like, no, I don't know. I'm getting
Yeah.
ready for business, sir. It is park's
Yeah.
closed. Put your top on, ma'am. Button up. I'm gonna ask you to leave like that. And then she was like freaked out for 2 days. But I mean, that's okay. But yeah, and this guy like took all that to like, oh man, I can't even get a girl to go to Makeout Mountain. I'm just naming shit from movies. I can't even get a girl to to Lover's Lane, Hookup Point, or whatever. So I'm just gonna find these girls and I'm gonna shoot them. Normally, you think that would be enough for a murder case, but I'm gonna say it again. I don't think it was a cult. I think it was a pack of fucking nerds. I really do believe this, and they were just like, let's just go. They were thrill killers, like the movie The Boys Next Door, great movie, Charlie Sheen and Maxwell Caulfield. They were like, let's go find some people. You be the lookout. I'm gonna cruise here. I'm gonna pop this chick in her head. And I don't think it was any further than that. I really do believe it was not a cult, but a thrill kill. But they were just lonely people looking for, kind of like that whole thing, like the girl that rejected me. They kind of delve into that psychosis. But that's what I've always kind of got out of it.
Well, so you think it was definitely more than just him
I
because
think it was
different.
probably just the three, because he said like, the two that he named by offhand were dead, and the other ones he's like, I can't tell you that. They'll come after my family. No, I think it was just like, I think it was a group of like three lonely guys, and they just targeted. That's what I believe. I don't believe it was I mean, because now, like I said, now you're drawn with the fucking rope and everything, and the codes, and I won't go that far, but I think the reason it was never explored further was, at the time, this was Maury Terry kind of came up with this theory, kind of more so late 80s, early 90s. There was no internet. There was no,
Yeah.
this is my forum, and I'm going to go on Howard Stern. I'm going to go to Joe Rogan. I'm going to do, this was like, I got to talk about this book I wrote. I'm going to go on Morton Downey Jr., Geraldo, the fucking Montel might, yeah, that was probably before he was doing paternities. You were doing this daytime talk show, which just made you fucking quack anywhere. Boy, the Times won't buy this story. I better get it to the Inquirer. So, I mean, that I think automatically took credibility away. But to this day,
Yeah.
I really do think there was more than one guy. Like I said, I don't think it's a deep satanic cult. I think it was just three or four thrill killers, and one would look out, one would drive, one would go. One of them clearly was a shitty shot, especially the 44 Magnum, but and they just did that. I really think that's what it was, and they started dropping these letters. I mean, I think this Berkowitz guy was a fucking loser. I don't think he really ever believed a dog was talking to him. But think about it: if you say all that, what's that movie with Righteous Kill? If you're nuts, you go loony bin. It's padded. You get your pudding, and eventually you get out of jail. It didn't work for him, but you could plead the insanity. I mean, that's more of the line I go with as far as the Son of Sam conspiracy. I don't really buy into like a cult, but I don't think it was this one weird dude acting alone.
Yeah, I don't think so either. And I think the New York wanting to hurry up and wrap this up so that everybody could go back to normal. I think because 13 months, that was quite a few little murders in
Long
just
time.
13 months that they just needed to wrap up. And
Well, look at where we live. We had 2 child murders. John Jubert case, 2 child murders, and our city was, the whole fucking state shut down for like over a year. I mean, and this is just, I mean, they were very graphic murders. John Jubert, you can look it up, but yeah, these were 2 murders, but it was just 2. Back then, 2 murders would that fuck your city up. Not like nowadays. It's like there were 8 murders overnight. Well, there weren't 10. Once we get about 10, maybe we'll lock the window. It wasn't, times were a little different back then. So yeah, if you're getting, even if you're just getting a killing once every couple months, in the 70s, and it's linked to the same guy, it's like, fuck, I better not leave my house.
Yeah. Well, like, so, something that I did find that was really interesting about this Son of Sam was that they actually made a law in 1977 called the Son of Sam Law, is where criminals could not profit from like any of the shows that they gave, their stories to, or anything that was written. So let's just say they gave content to, a writer and said, hey, I'm going to give you my exclusive story. And, so they wouldn't be able to make profit off of this. So this law was put in New York because of the actual Berkowitz, because he sold his like story rights to some publisher, and they came up with this law. Like they literally like came swinging in fast, like, nope, sorry, whatever you make off this is going to go into this pool in I cannot remember the name of the pool that they call it, but it's in New York, and it goes into a pool where the victims can apply for basically like retribution from the murders and whatnot. So they actually had to go in and apply for this. So they would take the money or whatever royalties were made off of it and put it into this fund. And so I thought that was really interesting that because of him, they came up with that Son of Sam law.
I guess
That they
people
couldn't
back in the
profit
day would get like, hey, let me get this painting that John Wayne Gacy did. He signed it. Let me sell it. Oh, a letter from Richard
off.
Ramirez. Let me sell it. People were doing that. So, I mean, it
Yeah, but
kind
there's
of
been a
fucked
lot of,
over my man, the Juice.
yeah,
OJ.
but
Or OJ.
there's been other writers and publishers and different entities who have fought this and won. So they were like, hey, no, look, I'm a writer and I know that this is a story. So let's just say I'm going to write a book about Berkowitz, but I didn't interview him and I didn't get any special content, but it's just stuff that, I've researched or whatever. But basically what they're saying is it's a violation of free speech. If somebody wants to write about something that, they've researched, they should be able to profit from that. So evidently there's been a lot that law has been bent and or either just completely tossed out depending on what they're writing. So I don't know how much of that's held up over the years, but it just seems like it swooped in 1977 when he signed off, like somebody wanted the rights of his story. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this. And they were like, nope, you're not going to be making money off that. So I thought it was pretty cool that they came in with this law, like, no, you're not going to make money off these people. But I don't know how much it's really held up since then.
I think it's held up pretty good. And I think it's funny that, well, I shouldn't say funny, let's say ironic. Every year now, because after 25 years, this wackadoo somehow escaped the death penalty because he was crazy. And after 25 years, he was up for parole. He became a born again Christian. They all fucking do. Pardon my language. They all do. I'll give him a little more merit than the others because he says, "Well, I don't think I should be paroled." You ain't gonna be. I'll give you a tip. I would parole him because then the minute he got out, somebody'd be like, "You killed my grandfather," and they kill him. But every year he's up for parole. Every year he gets denied. Charles Manson was up for parole too. I don't got that. Let these guys out, and then somebody's going to come and shoot them about 2 seconds after they get out of the gate, and here will be the guard. Huh? I missed it. I mean, that's what's going to happen. But no, Berkowitz is, he doesn't think he should be released. He became a born again. He preaches against all this stuff. Now, here's the other thing that's weird. So you're pardon me, I'm going to stop trying to curse. You're this guy and you're this weird schizophrenic and the dog's talking to you and you hate women, all this stuff, and you become born again, and all at once you're cured. You're not any medication. It's like, oh, I knew that dog. I knew it wasn't real. I don't-
Weird.
It doesn't work that way. If you're a nutbag, you're gonna die a nutbag. That's how it works. If you're normal, you're gonna be normal. Medicine can help. I mean, I think we all take medicine, but how do you go from thinking a dog talked to you to finding Jeebus and now the dog never existed? And then he did the one interview where he said it was a cult and all this. So it's like, as much as I think it's a cult, the credibility in this guy it's the drizzling shits. He has no credibility.
Yeah. He
And he
doesn't.
looks like Latka from Taxi
Yeah.
now, where I look at
Yeah.
him.
You said that earlier. I
Would you have
definitely.
dated Latka from Taxi?
No.
Oh man, this Berkowitz is striking out in
He
every
is
way
striking out.
possible, fans.
He's totally striking out.
And no
Yep.
chance. What you're saying is this guy had no chance with you.
Nope.
Not even if he was John Lovitz,
Nope.
Dice,
Nope.
Latka. I don't know who else he looked like. He looked a lot like John Lovitz and Latka. Maybe a
Yeah.
little Jerry Lee Lewis kind of go. What if he wore a leisure suit and went? Then would you have dated him?
I don't know. It's those eyebrows. It's those eyebrows.
Let me
He's
tell you.
crazy eyebrow. He has crazy eyebrow. If you look at any of his other
You gotta trim
pictures,
that shit. People
he's got
watching.
crazy eyebrows and he has crazy eyes. I don't know. There's just
I
something
know he
about
looks like a Russian dictator.
he just has crazy eyes. I don't do crazy eyes, but
He didn't groom. That's grooming. But then again, was there a lot of grooming in that era? I remember the movie I Spit on Your Grave. Not good grooming in that movie, but the remake had good grooming. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, how many men, and I'm a pretty masculine guy, when I go to get the old beard trim, they always trim my eyebrows. Always. But how many guys in the 70s? I mean, like, look at the hair. This is the guy's photo. I wish I could have done it different.
everybody's hair was crazy. Their eyebrows were crazy. Yeah. We still had women that, well, I don't know if they were starting to shave their armpits again. They went from shaving to not shaving to whatever. I don't know. It was kind of a crazy time, but
There's a
no.
girl I see on Instagram, and she always goes, "Oh," and she got this braided hair coming out of her pits, and she's like, "Isn't armpit hair sexy?" It's like, unfollow gross pig. No,
Yep.
it's not sexy. I'm a dude and I trim my armpit hair. I mean, there is grooming, but in this era there wasn't grooming, so maybe his eyebrows were okay, but the hair,
Yeah, I'm sure they were good for the
slicked the hair
70s. Yeah.
he could have slicked
He
his
just-
hair back.
He just must have been super awkward. I mean, for some, I mean, he even went into the military. He was in the military, went into the army when he was 18. I mean, and you'd think that having been in the army and you're stationed different places and whatnot, that he would have met somebody. I guess he claimed to have had a girlfriend, but she claims that they were just friends. But so I honestly didn't find out any other information about him being with anyone. So
Like these guys that would have the picture of the girl and be like, "This is my girlfriend. She lives in Canada." And she, all that kind of bullshit. But I mean, yeah, you make a good point. If you've quote unquote traveled the world and everything, and this is the era of free love. And I guess in all honesty, and you still couldn't get a lady, maybe you are gonna go a little cuckoo. But I mean, what was his come on, be like, "Hey, come back to my apartment where I poked holes in the wall, and the dog will talk to both of us." I mean, it's some people I think were born and bred to be murderers. I don't know, but this guy, like I keep saying, I don't think he fits the profile of a killer. I
Yeah.
think he was a killer. I think he did definitely pop a few of these people, but I think there were a few of them, but I don't think it was a big conspiracy killing dogs and all that. It wasn't it was a group of goons that
Yeah.
then unfortunately they held the city at hostage for a couple
Yeah.
years.
Yeah, several years. Yeah.
And you wouldn't have dated any of them.
No.
That's sad.
Well, Halloween is coming.
What are we doing for Halloween?
I don't know. What did we say we were gonna do?
I don't know. We've had a lot of ideas. I think we should do a movie commentary, but I've also thought we should do other things. I don't know. I have
I think,
ideas and then I'm old. They go away soon.
yeah. Well, let's say, I don't know. There's also um different why folklore type stuff and stories um well centered around the area that we live in too. So we could do that as well.
We should go to
Uh,
haunted houses too and film them.
Hummel Park.
I want to.
Haunted
Oh, I
houses.
remember Hummel Park. I've gotten in some trouble at Hummel Park, but I remember that. Well, Hitchcock Park too.
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
gotten some heat there too in my younger days.
All right, we'll have to come up
Are
with
you a
something.
haunted house fan?
Yeah.
They say that the house, which is the basement of Hollywood Candy in our old market, is just supposed to be the most amaze balls haunted house in the world.
You mean where the candy store is?
Yeah, it's like their basement now, and they say it's just like the greatest haunted house ever. And after
They
going to
may.
Halloween Horror Nights, which is why we weren't on last week, my kid wants to do every haunted house in the world after that. So
Interesting. No, haunted houses. My grandmother had actually sold a house in Papillion. Um, she'd been in real estate since 1974, and there was a house, I think she sold it. I want to say it was either late 70s, maybe early 80s. And you drive by it and it's just a normal looking ranch style house, off of Washington. So 84th turns into Washington. And so she sold it to this young couple, and they call her and they said, I don't know, there's something strange going on and we're not quite sure what to think. And I was in the kitchen making dinner, and my husband was asleep in the living room, and I thought he was standing like in the doorway of the kitchen and said something like, I'll always love you. And she turned around like as if he was supposed to be like right there. And he wasn't there. He was like sound asleep, snoring in the living room. They had stuff that was rearranged in the kitchen. It wasn't like doors open and things were flying everywhere. It was just things were just rearranged. Now, this house had a table that was made of, I want to say it was marble or something like that. It was really, really heavy, some type of really heavy stone. And it was bolted to the floor. And I mean, like bolted to the floor. And the table has had a dark brown stain in the middle of this table forever. And everybody who buys the house, the table is just bolted to the, I mean, it's like bolted into the floor, almost like it's made into the floor. And the rumor had it was that there was a doctor who had that house and did like illegal abortions or something like that years ago. This was the tale. But the young couple ended up, I guess, selling the house again. My grandmother ended up selling it again because they couldn't live there. Well, in the early 2000s, I drove by the house and there's always been like a little shop or something that's been in it. So I drove by it. I went by because they had a sale going on, and I stopped in and said, oh, you guys are like, going out of business or whatever. They're having some type of sale. And I said, is the table still in the kitchen that's bolted to the floor? And she just kind of looked at me kind of funny. And so I went in there and I asked if I could look at the table. I said, does the table have a stain on it? And she's like, yeah. And so she lifted up this big sheet type tablecloth that she had on it, and it was stained. So we believe that the table was a surgery table. I don't know if he did other surgeries or whatever. All I know is that the rumor had it was that he did illegal abortions way back in the 60s, 70s. But they say that the house is haunted. So, but I don't give out the address just because I don't want a lot of people to be driving by or trying to knock on the door or whatever.
Do people live there currently?
It is owned by someone,
Then we
but
could film something there. But
it's not really a residence. Yeah.
I tell you what, fans, we'll have something awesome for Devil's Night or Halloween. Her and I are going to talk tomorrow, not with you present, but we will figure it out. But do you have anything else left to say about the Son of Sam?
No, just weirdo.
Weirdo, who would have had no chance with you, right?
No.
Or David Berkowitz, or pathetic cock knocker. I guess until the Halloween episode, I got nothing else to say. Do you?
Either.